welcome to everyone who has taken time to join us today. My name is Vivek Bhargava, and I work in product marketing with responsibility for Cisco DNA, Cisco Digital Network Architecture, as well as Cisco Software-Defined Access. With me is Satpal Ranu, who is the technical marketing engineer, and he will actually be running the demos themselves. So the format of today's session will be, I'll take the first 10 minutes or so to kind of lay the background of what is software-defined access in the first place and why we need it. So without further ado, let's begin. So, you know, and this is not a secret. You probably are very well aware of what has been happening in the IT industry. On the one side, on the left-hand side, you can see that the users who used to be accessing the network or your office network or your enterprise network from within their offices, in their headquarters or in branches, are now, not just confined to their desks. They are moving out. They are mobile. They access, the network remotely. And they're not just all employees. There are contractors, there are guests, there are your suppliers, there are your vendors probably, who are trying to get some network services from your enterprise network. And they're using it using more and more personal and mobile devices. So you can basically, your IT department cannot realistically track and authorize each and every device manually. So you need to have some way to do that. And then, of course, there are more and more IoT devices coming. With the digital transformation that is happening, people are bringing in more automation. They're bringing in smart things like from cameras to card readers to temperature sensors or even actuators to do all trying to get into the network and do things. On the other side of this equation is where your application resides. And again, they are no longer strictly confined into your data centers, right? They are scattered over a hybrid cloud. So you might be using things from Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud, and also a hybrid infrastructure where you may have your workloads scattered in your data center and in the clouds and so on. And of course, you're probably using software as a service as well. So all that means, what I'm trying to get at is that you have so many devices on one side, and you have applications that are all over the place on the other side. So the problem is a problem to IT. So with having to extend your network away from your trust perimeter, your secure zone in the yellow, now you have to take care of users coming in from outside and different kinds of users coming in from outside, and all the applications which are also now outside your trust perimeter. So so there are some basic questions that arise here. So how do we know users? How do we know they are who they say they are? What kind of authentication and authorization things that we can do? And are their devices up to date? So these are devices not issued by your IT department. You don't know what version of Android or iOS they're running. If they have the latest patches, security patches. What is their hygiene? Have they been infected? You're not really sure. So you need to have a policy there to figure that out. And on the other side, you have to do the same thing on your data and applications. You need to make sure that the right person who's authorized to use it is accessing it, and they're not extending their rights. They are not doing things that they're not supposed to be doing. So all of that comes down to how you can set up your network to enforce these security challenges. And one of the most common and not common, I would say one of the most effective and recognized as a best practice is segmenting your network. And what does that segmenting mean? It means that you isolate traffic from different kinds of users so that you don't have problems of unauthorized access. So for example, in this particular scenario here, we have taken just a example of an enterprise who may have, in this case, a financial one. So you may have financial analysts, of course, you may have HR, you have network for the guest, you have network security, and you have all of these things on the right-hand side. So all of them are into the network. So how do you make sure, for example, that the camera doesn't access your client records, right? And you might wonder how can camera access a client record? But think about if that camera is compromised in some way. Somebody, a third party, has come into the camera and then using it as a base or sort of a beachhead to spread malware or to get into your enterprise network after compromising that camera. So that could happen, right? So you need your network to be able to do that, to stop that. So in order to do a proper segmentation, you need to obviously identify and group all your users and things. If you cannot identify who's on your network and that's a camera, you won't be able to apply the proper segmentation to it. And then you need to provide granular access privileges. You need to make sure that the camera doesn't have the privilege of trying to get to client records. It doesn't have the privilege of doing things that it's not supposed to be doing. And the idea is, of course, you protect users and applications from threats. And here's the architecture that we have been developing. We call it zero trust. And what it really means is that you don't trust anybody inside or outside your trust perimeter without doing a proper authentication for them. And even then, you give them the least or minimum amount of privilege that they need to do their task. So Cisco has identified 3 different areas, protect your workforce, protect your workloads, and protect your workplace. And what we're going to talk about here is SD access or software-defined access, which you see on the left-hand side here, which is for protecting your workplace. So what is SD access is all about? Now that we have sort of got an idea of where it fits in, how do we make it work, right? So what does SD access do for us? So first of all, it does this identity-based policy and segmentation. So it figures out who is trying to get onto your network, what sort of privileges it should be assigned, what sort of authentication and authorization that we can do, and ultimately what segment should we put it in. And it does so by using large amount of automation, right? And so obviously with the explosion devices, you cannot expect human beings or manual things to take care of this. So you need a large amount of automation, and that's where the network fabric comes into the picture. So you need to have this, your devices which make up the fabric to be programmable, and on which you can then create your overlay fabric. And ultimately, of course, you need to make sure that what you're trying to do is actually working, and so you have to collect the telemetry and the insights to assure that it's what's working. So so this is a graphical representation of how easy we have made SD access to work. It's as easy as essentially dragging and dropping into groups and then assigning policies and assigning contracts within groups, so that and it's all done through a graphical interface. And and we will show this to you in the coming up demo. So this illustrates how on the left-hand side you might go device by device, but on the right-hand side, if by simple grouping of like devices, you can manage them much more easily. The other part is the assurance part. So here's where SD access, the assurance part of SD access is how we collect all of these data from different sources, from syslogs to netflows to DNS servers, and kind of put them all together and apply our knowledge to figure out what exactly is happening, and correlate all of those things together and figure out if there is anything that is not working right, or there's, and that correlation will help us figuring out what is not working right and how to fix it. So what are the components of SD Access? The main driver that we'll be showing you today is done through the Cisco DNA Center. And that is the main dashboard, or the what we call as a network controller, that applies policy, provisioning, design, and assurance. So that's one place where it's all driven from. The Cisco DNA Center runs on a DNA Center appliance, and it controls physical and virtualized infrastructure consisting of switches, routers, and wireless access point, wireless controllers, etc. The other part is the Cisco ISE, or Cisco Identity Services Engine, and this is where the policies are stored. So you can see this graph or this matrix in the middle of the chart here, and it shows how some trusted assets and trusted groups are allowed to talk to each other. With partners, you may not want them to get to certain assets that you don't want to get them into, and so forth. So as simple as this matrix, you can easily segment and create your trust boundaries. The third part is the programmable infrastructure. So as I mentioned, you need to have all of your network devices that form your network be able to follow programmatically any kind of segmentation on any kind of overlay network that we want to build upon them. And so this chart gives you all of the what we call as DNA ready infrastructure. So without further ado, I know there is a lot of demo material to come. I'll pass the ball on to Satpal to lead you through the demos itself. Go ahead, Satpal.
Thank you, Vivek. Thank you so much. Also, first of all, thank you everyone joining this call. So let me go and share my screen. Okay, Vivek, you can see my screen now.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great, perfect. Okay, so this is the dashboard of our DNA Center appliance. Today, I am going to showcase demo on our new release, which is the latest release is 133. And so first of all, I'm just going to talk about a little bit about the DNA Center. So here's the dashboard, and the dashboard shows you the assurance summary of all my network devices. As you can see that there's a health of all my network devices, wireless clients as well as the wired clients. And also the little snapshot, kind of how many critical issues on my network. And there's a quick network snapshot, how many sites I have on my network, how many network devices, what is the status of my licenses on my devices. And then if you scroll down, and these are the 5 pillars that I'm going to talk about. Those actually you can see on the top bar as well. And I'm going to go one by one. And then scrolling down, we have some tools, and you can get those access right from the menu. You can go and it's easy access from the right side. Okay, so now as I mentioned, I'm going to talk about the all the pillars. So part of the SDA. So first pillar is design. So first, before we deploy or implement any network, let's sit back and let's design. Basically, pretty much like whiteboarding. So let's go into design. The first thing first, you will see the earth map of all my sites. With the fresh, basically, there's going to be no site. If you already have a prime on your network, there's an option to import the sites and map, export the sites and map from prime, and then you can come and import all those sites. Or you can build, either you manually add all the sites, like for example, you can add the country, city, building, then each building there's a floor. Or you can build this CSV file and then let you import all the data. So in my demo, I have also a lot of sites, like for example, like North America, US, California, and if I go to San Jose, a few buildings, and each building I have floors. And here's a quick view of how the floors look like. Okay, and then also in the new feature, we have, if you can look at that on the right side, you can see all the list view of all the sites, and right from there you can go and edit any floor or any building. And then also we have Earth view, that's a satellite view. Basically, you can see all your site right on the as a satellite view. Okay. Okay, so I just talked about a little bit on the locations. The next step is the network settings. So in the network setting, what you need to do, you need to define, for example, you can define all your what's a AAA server, all the DSCP servers, DNS, and syslog, SNMP, and TP. So these are the global level configurations. But you can go on, site level, and then you can see that they're like little orange icon. It shows that these are inherited from global, but you can go and edit these value, or like for example, NTP should be the local, right? You can add new NTP, whatever that belongs to San Jose site, or the time zone, all these settings, you can change it. Okay. The next is device credential. Here you can define all your credentials such as CLI, SNMP, HTTP. For example, I'm just going to add one more as an example. I'm going to say, let's say I'm going to add new user device admin. Basically, that I'm going to use to discover my all the network devices in brownfield. And I'm going to give the password, and it's going to skip. I can give the enable password as well. Okay, save it. So I have two different credentials right now I can use later on. I'm going to show you the demo how I'm going to use, where I'm going to leverage these credentials. Okay, the next is IP pools. So first we need to define the overall global level IP pools, and then we can go on each site and reserve the pools from the main bigger pool. And we can have a subset of all these from the bigger pool. We do support IPv4 as well as IPv6. The IPv6 only for the overlay network this moment. Okay. Then we have, of course, you can define your SSIDs part of the design. So right now it shows the one SSID, but if I go back to global, you can see all my SSIDs. Of course, like corporate SSID going to be on your entire network, and some branch level SSID, right? You can also define, but then you can go in network profile, and where you can assign, like for example, my corporate SSID should be on every single location. So you can go and you can say global level, or you can just remove from one particular site if you want. That's everything just done in the design section. Okay, so now I think I talked about a little bit about the network settings. So let me jump into a little bit image repository. So image repository is where you can have basically it explain itself. So we have all the iOS images, and there can be more than one image per device based on the role. For example, like in this my demo, I have it's one image for my all devices. For example, my core router switch distribution or access switches. But you can change that. Hey, for my distribution, I need a different iOS image. And there's a one option like it's called a golden image. So you can mark the whatever the like stable image as a golden image. Then the DNA Center will automatically detect, hey, if any device, network device running higher or lower than golden image, it will give you an option to or alert to update the image. I'll show you the demo later on. Okay, so I think that's just let's talk about the design. So now I'm going to jump into the next pillar, which is our policy. So by default, it shows the policy, but I'm going to jump into quickly creating the virtual network. I think Vivek did mention about the segmentation. So we have two types of segmentation, micro segmentation and macro segmentation. So macros, first I'm going to create the macro segmentation, which is pretty much the VRF, if you're VRF level, VRF. So I'm going to create, like, as a demo, I'm going to create the few virtual network. For example, first virtual network for all my employees. And these are the scalable group tags. I'm going to show you demo how we're gonna leverage these tags to segment the traffic instead of using the IPACL. So I'm going to create the VN for employees, and I can search, or I can pick and choose, or I can search, like, let's say for example, my contractors, or let's say developers, or I can pick any, let's say my regular employees, okay, and just save it, and then I'm going to create two more. I'm going to next one maybe, like, say VN for my guest, and let me see if I have a guest. Yes, I do have guest scalable group tag, and if you have a guest, then we would recommend to use the guest, just select this option. It will, like, add a little more extra configuration to isolate the guest traffic. And now we do have ability to add multiple guest VNs. Earlier version, it was only one guest option, but now we can have multiple guest VNs. I'm going to save it. The last one, I'm going to create one more for, let's say, IoT devices. So IoT devices can be my cameras, or it can be my heating system, let's say HVAC, and lights, and so on. I'm going to save it. Okay, so I have right now 3 different VNs, virtual networks. That's how I'm going to protect my traffic. Basically, all my lights, cameras, and heating system going to be on one particular VN. That's going to be by nature of, like, VRF, basically won't be able to communicate with any other traffic. Okay, so the next I'm going to show you how to create the access contract. Basically, that's pretty much what kind of traffic we're going to allow. We do have some already contract permit and deny at the default, and I'm going to create one more. Let me see if I can say. I'm going to say deny HTTPS and HTTP traffic. Okay, so simply just go and select I'm going to say deny, and I'm going to search HTTPS. Yep, and logging, and then add one more. That's going to be HTTP. See if it scroll down, and I'm going to log in, and by default rest of traffic going to be permit, and you can do the vice versa. And I'm going to also enable logging. Okay, and I can say, okay, I need to deploy it, and once I deploy it, okay, so everything good. So I have my new contract, deny HTTP and HTTPS. So the next is how I'm going to leverage these contracts and my SGT tags to build the policy. So in the policy, as you can see, that it's like a very graphical, as Vivek mentioned, like, just a drag and drop. You can build the policies. So these are all of my trust tags. These are source and the same on the destination side. If you have more than one, it's much. We have the ability, feature, like you can easily navigate up and down. So let's build the one policy. So I'm going to, part of my demo, I'm going to say, let me see. Okay, so I'm going to build the policy between point of sale. I'm going to protect the traffic between point of sale and employees. Okay, I think I didn't add the point of sale ST tag in my virtual network. So let's go back to, I'm going to go back to my virtual network and in employee, and I'm going to add point of sale. Okay, I'm going to save. It's basically how easy you can go back and edit any virtual network. So going back to policy, scroll down a little bit. Okay, point of sale, And this is my source side, and I'm keep moving all the way to employees. There you go. That's how easy you can set up, assign any kind of policy. So I'm going to go and click here, and I can add any contract for that particular pairing. I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to deny everything between my point of sale and employee, and just change it and save it. That's how easy to deploy the policy. Basically, you don't need to worry about what IP address it is, what location it is. So basically, all on your branches, any location, any branch, wherever you have a point of sale, that policy will automatically deploy. That's how easy manage the policies. Single line, but it's going to be apply all your locations. Okay. So, and it's a vice versa. Basically, it's a source, but you can do the vice versa as well. There's a more advanced feature. You can go and directly. I should do the same thing from source. Source is employee, and destination point of sale. Do the same thing, and then I save it, and then I'm going to say deploy. It's all done. Okay. So that's, I think I covered a little bit about the policy. Of course, this is like really integration. Actually, I need to go back in my design section. I missed something. Under network, I need to add my ISE server so that whenever my client authenticate, the ISE make sure assign the right policy or assign the right trustsec tag. So I already have integration with my ISE, with the DNA Center. I'm going to go and pick and choose. And I don't have a back secondary, so I just have one ISE, and I'm going to pick and choose and save it. Okay. Okay. Anything? Okay. Good. So I covered design, policy, and I'm going to jump in provisioning now. So provisioning, that's how actual we are talking about the network devices, or we call it deployment. Here is a list of all my network devices. So how it came into on my network? We have multiple options. I think the first option I'm going to go with the discovery. So let's jump into tools. I'm going to go in the discovery. Okay, so I'm going to add, let's see how we discover the devices. Simply just say, you can give the name. I'm going to say, I will say demo. And there's a different options to discover the network devices. And I'm going to go and pick IP address range. And you can just give the IP address range. If you have a single IP address, just give the say so from and to the same IP address. And if you have a range of more than one, and then you can give the range. I will say, let's say, for example, 10, 10, like 100. Or you can have a larger subnet, you can give the larger subnet. Something, right? And we prefer to use the loopback address for the management. That's how our assurance works, on using the loopback address for the management. Okay, here are the CLI options. You can pick and choose the CLI. If you don't have any CLI, any credentials here, you can add more credentials. You can add any credential right from here. Okay, that's it. So once you click discover, basically you will see the status like this. Everything green, and these are the devices that's already been discovered. And make sure everything green, and it shows how many devices got discovered. So we have 97 devices got discovered. So let's go back to provision. So here are all my 97 devices. Another option is plug and play. So plug and play basically is a greenfield environment. You just place an order, switches. All you need to do, just go and plug in, and it will automatically reach out to our PNP, and PNP knows what your DNA Center server is, and it will come and sit here under PNP as unclaimed status. So I'm going to show you demo how easily you can claim the devices and push the configuration. So I'm going to go and select the device and go and click on claim. and then give the site what the site it is. I'm going to say San Jose 4, and next. And I'm going to say next. And I have one, so I'm going to pick, so I have one switch, and it's already picked my template. Click previous template. So it's already picked my template, and I'm going to go next, select the device, and there's a one variable in my template, what host name it is. I'm going to say this is my new switch. I'll say my new switch, something like any kind of value, and next. And let me see if I can see. Okay, there you go. I can see what CLI will be pushed to the new switch. As you can see that this is like variable that I just provided, and that the rest of it is a CLI that will be pushed to this newly claimed device. And all I need to do, claim it, and this device, you will see this device in part of my inventory. Okay, so going back to inventory, another option is LAN automation. So if you go and click on action and provision and LAN automation, I have some information. I can go and pick my, let's say I'm going to say San Jose 1 is my primary site, and my primary device is going to be my distribution switch. And okay, what port my new switch is connected to? Let me see, I can say it's my port 14. And then just give the rest of a configuration. For example, what is this new site? I'm going to say same as my San Jose 1 site. And, oops, sorry, I didn't. Okay, and what pool I'm going to use it? Oops, sorry, something wrong. Oh, maybe I don't have a pool for that site, I believe, but should be. That's fine. So I'm just going to give you a demo. So, and just give the name of your, we use the ISE protocol for LAN discovery, and just give the password and then give the host name. If you have more than one device, you can use the CSV file, which has a tie the serial number with the host name, then automatically assign the host name for all the newly discovered devices. And workflow is very straightforward. All you need to do, click start, and there's a different, the whole workflow to kind of, it picked the IP address from pool, one IP address for the loopback address, and other IP subnet for point-to-point. And based on that, it will discover the device and put the basic configuration on the new device. So it's a little bit longer process right now. It will take like a few minutes, but I'm going to go and cancel this. Okay. So I talk about the three options: discovery, PNP, and LAN automation. Okay. So I'm going to talk about a little bit of SWIM tool, a software management tool that, because I already mentioned in the part of design all the software images. So now I'm going to go and take a look. If I click on software image, and you can see here under software image, I think my 4 of switches are running older image. You can see the 1610 one. And it gave me the option that, hey, these devices need to get updated. So all I need to do, go and under action, click software update image, and you can schedule. So there are 2 different kind of schedule. One is to push the image, and then the next schedule is to activate the image. So I'm gonna do it right now, and click confirm, and you can come back anytime. Go in software image and image update status. And it give you like what's going on, right? Okay, so I'm going to let it go, continue, and I'm going to talk about a little bit other feature. There's another feature is, let's go back to inventory, and I'm going to say, let me see unreachable devices. I do have few, one switch and access points are unreachable. Looks like my switch is bad. So what I need to do, so I don't need to do anything. All I need to do, I don't need to go and download the configuration and configure the new switch and bring it, then connect back to do it. Now, all I need to do it from here, select the switch and take an action and device replacement and mark for a replacement. done. So the next step is unplug the device and then unbox the new devices and plug in back to the way it was the old switches. And as I mentioned, it will automatically reach out to PNP and come over here, and you will find the switch here. If I go and under marked devices, you will find the new switch. So I'm going to go and select and take action and replace the device. Sorry, this is the previous one was marked device, and this one is a new device that is just sitting as a unclaimed. Select the device and next, and basically now it will push all the configuration. What was running was the old switch. It will be on the new device, and you can check the status. Or I'm going to go back to my devices. Okay, and now let's take a look on my software image status and action, software image, and image status. Okay, so looks like everything's done. There's no, maybe I didn't finish that. Okay, maybe something, probably I missed that. But you can come back and check the status if my images are upgraded, or it gives you the detailed logs, what's going on, either image switch got updated or not. And this message will go away. Okay, okay, I talk about a little bit about the inventory. Now I'm going to jump into Fabric, SDA Fabric. Here you will see we have a Fabric, and then we have some transit sites. So transit sites are how that we can use to connect the Fabric sites. If I go under, I have one Fabric, San Jose Fabric. Under Fabric, San Jose Fabric, I have multiple sites. And right now, they are not connected. If I go back, I can go and connect them using my transit site. We have a different, right now we are supporting 2 different type of a transit, SDA transit and the IP transit, as you can see there. So I'm going to go cancel, go back to my San Jose Fabric. So let's talk about a little bit about how we can provision the Fabric. So I'm going to first select my first site, which is basically very small branch. I have a one router, which is uplink router, and I have a one switch, 9300. I'm going to show you that how we can configure. I'm going to provision like same switch, which we call the Fabric in a box. The same switch will be my border node, and I need to give the BGP autonomous number, and I'm going to select my transit site, how I'm going to connect this device, this site to other site, and add. That's it. And then also I'm going to enable as a control plane as well as edge node. And click add and save and apply. And also we do have a feature called embedded wireless. So we can use the same Catalyst 9300, which does support embedded wireless. All I need to do, enable the embedded wireless and select the image, activate the image, and next. And it gives you the option where this switch is. Basically, it's automatically selected that my site, San Francisco 11, and next, done. And this is a summary, and save it, and add, apply. So as you can see that, so this device, just refresh. This device is a role as a control plane, border node, edge node, and wireless. So this is how quickly you can provision the network devices. So once you provision it, the next step is the host onboarding. How you're going to connect your devices, endpoints or clients to the device. There's different workflows. The first thing first, you need to select what is the authentication by default you can choose. I'm going to say, hey, every port on that switch should be closed authentication. Okay, the next thing is you need to assign IP address pools to the virtual network. So default VN and infra VN are the default, and the other VN I just created as a part of demo, employees, guest, and IoT. So if I go and add a pool, I need to add set as default, and then click on employees. Let me see if I have any pool. So I have only one pool which called a border pool, but I can go back and go back in the design and IP pool, and then assign a new pool for my San Francisco branch 11, and then I could go and pick and choose, and then type of traffic going to be data, and also going to use that for some wireless and save it. That's how you can assign the IP address pools. And same with if there's available SSID on there, but there's no SSID on that pool, that site yet, and the next is the port assignments. So here's my one switch, and you can see that all the ports have a consistent default configuration. Basically, all the ports are by default closed authentication, which means when you plug in any laptop or any device, the ISE will recognize what kind of device it is, which location it is, and what username, and based on that, it will assign a TrustSec tag for that device. And of course, we have a policy that will deny or allow the traffic. So if any device doesn't have any supplicant, you can also assign manually. You can assign that, hey, this is my access point, or if it's like a dumb device, doesn't have any supplicant, they can manually assign the pool, and I can say no authentication, and then and also assign the manually TrustSec tag for the device. Okay, so let me jump into one of my, this is a very small branch, and I do have a pretty big branch. I can say a small campus. A lot of devices are here. I have 2 border nodes and control plane, and I have a separate wireless LAN controllers and a lot of edge nodes. And you can select all the edge node all in one, and basically you can push the configuration. You don't need to select individual. Oops, sorry, what I did. Oh, click something wrong. Okay. And another thing I like to highlight, which we call extended node. An earlier version, we support extended node. As you can see, we have IE4K, and an earlier version, it was you can use, but there was no segmentation or no enforcement. But now we have a new IE switch. Now we call policy extended, and the same switch on the extended node, we can enforce the TrustSec policies. If I go on host onboarding and go into my IE 3400, and if I go manually select the policies, now I can assign. So no pool right now, but yeah, you can see that we have option to assign a TrustSec tag manually. If I go back to my other extended node, let's say my 4K, then you will not see that option. So there's no option for TrustSec tag. But that's just because this is a new IoT switch 3400, which allows the TrustSec enforcement, which we call the policy extended. Okay. So I just talked about a little bit about the fabric, and now I'm going to jump into services. And because we do have integration with the Stealth Watch, and the Stealth Watch, we have a Stealth Watch feature called ETA, encrypted traffic analytic, which allows us to detect the malware on any encrypted traffic on our Catalyst switches. So how to enable the feature is so easy. So you can go and select the site. It will automatically detect what devices we have that kind of capable of ETA feature, and go and get started. And all I need to do, select my Stealth Watch flow collector, and it will pick all these switches that support the ETA feature. And I'm going to go and click enable. That's it. It's how with single click, it will basically, as you can see right in the two device, but I think it's, when I refresh, you will see that the ETA feature got enabled on those switches. Okay. So now I'm going to jump into assurance a little bit. You can see we have I just wanted to mention that once we discover our device onboarded on our DNA center, basically every single network device and wired or wire client, every single device act like a sensor, sending the information to our DNA center, and DNA center have the full picture of all the what's going on my network. And as you can see, that gives you the health summary of all my network devices and wire clients, and we have some top issues. If I go back and click one of my issue, and it not only give you the detail of that issue, but also give you some suggested actions. Like for example, if you don't need to go and log in into switch and run the CLI command. It does for you. You're gonna click on run and give you the CLI output of the devices. And same thing if you're going to check the configuration on particular interface, and it will give you that output. Okay. So another I can see that there's a layer 2 loop symptoms. I like this. This is a new feature in 133, and what exactly it is? It detects the loop. Actually, if I go, let me go back to my topology. And I know there's some, we created the issue on one of my site, San Francisco 13. And you can see that we have 3 switches, and there is a spanning loop between the 2 switches. So let's go back, assurance, because I see this issue here, and I go and how I can troubleshoot this. As you can see, there are a lot of, I can see a lot of messages. All I need to do, run the root cause analysis. If I go there, run the machine reasoning, and basically it does all the steps and come with the conclusion. And it's going to let me know like what is my suggested action. Hey, there's a loop detection, and all I need to do shut down one of the port. And there's a more detail. The activity details. If I go and find more detail, for that spanning tree, the loop, and give you more detail on each switch. Okay, so this is a pretty cool feature we call the spanning tree loop detection. Another thing I like to part of my assurance, I like to mention that we have an AI ML, artificial intelligence part of our assurance. As you can see that there's about 400 open issues. But if I use my AI ML, it will narrow down to 47 issues. Why? I'm going to give you a quick demo. Let's say I'm going to click on one of my issue. Maybe select the second one. And click detail. So this picture going to tell you the whole story. As you can see that there's some issues on onboarding the devices. The blue line telling me that what's the duration of the onboarding devices is up and down, and the little green shaded line which tell me. So okay, let's go back to how the events occurred, because there should be some baseline. If you put the static baseline, there are going to be a lot of noises. But when we when we enable the AI, so AI basically learned from the last 6 months of my data on my network, and it comes with this dynamic baseline based on the behavior of my network. That's why the green shaded line is telling me, hey, it is your baseline. So if any issue is within the baseline, basically it can eliminate the the event messages. Only it's gonna trigger the message if that issue is above the baseline. That's how it narrowed down to 47 events, because only in this particular time that issue occurred above the baseline. So now you can narrow down on that particular time, hey, what exactly what issue is. So we have a lot of more features, like you can do the root cause analysis. There are a lot of KPIs you can add and investigate why this thing happened. Basically, it's gonna narrow you down the to tackle that issue. So I think we are pretty much on the top of time. So I will get back to Vivek. Hey Vivek, maybe you can take over from here. Pretty much done with the demo. I mean, there's a lot more to cover, but because of time, I'm gonna pause here.
Okay, great, excellent. So I'm going to. I have a couple of closing slides actually, and I see there have been some questions. So maybe you can comment on those at the end. But in order to help you adopt SD Access, we have defined journeys that will kind of ease your way into adopting the main pillars of SD Access, which we saw just now, based on automation, that include design, policy, provisioning, etc., assurance, which includes monitor analysis, troubleshooting, and intelligent operation based on AI/ML technique, and of course the security, underlying security, which is afforded by SD Access. So all of those we have defined how you can easily get started, even if you have an existing network, and how you can migrate over by adopting some of these journey steps into a complete fabric. We also have a services portfolio, which can go from all the way from advisory, including implementation, optimization, even managed services, and so on. Finally, we have other software demo that we do. What you saw was software-defined access, of course, but we have DNA Center overview, DNA spaces, demos that are based exclusively on ISE, on SD-WAN, and wireless, and so forth. So this concludes our main presentation. In the last 3 minutes that we do have, I want to see if there are any more questions here. And let's see. So there have been some questions on transit network versus the fabric. I don't know, Satpal, you want to comment on how they're different from each other?
Oh, I'm sorry. What was the question? Sorry.
The fabric and transit networks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So fabric are where it's basically the sites. Let's say I'm just give you example, like my San Jose site, my San Francisco site, and within the San Jose we have a San Jose 1 site, San Jose 2 site, or it can be in, like, for example, like in healthcare environment, we recommend to use each floor as a site. Then how we connect these sites, we use the transit sites. So each site has own border node or control plane and edge nodes. So that's how we isolate, the environment. And then if you have two sites or two different, let's say San Francisco and San Jose sites, and how are we going to connect them? Using the transit site. The transit site can be IP based. That means it's going to be only layer 3 connectivity. When we're talking about the SD access, SDA transit, that means we allow you to share the Lisp, VXLAN, and SGT information. But it does require the MTU higher than 1500. So if you have a metro link, then we do recommend to use the SDA transit site. If it's over the WAN, then we recommend to use the IP-based transit site. So basically, transit site is enables the connectivity between the fabric sites.
Okay, great. Now, if somebody has to experience DNA Center for themselves, Can they use their Cisco account to use dcloud? Is that an option?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go to dcloud.cisco.com and just search for DNA Center, and then you will be able to experience with our DNA Center demo.
Okay. Okay. So there was a question how they can practice this, and that might be a way to do it.
Absolutely. This is enabled for our customer that they can get experience on DNA Center on our dcloud.cisco.com.
Excellent. Okay, I think we are in the top of the hour now, so we will say goodbye. Thank you very much all for attending, and I hope this hour was useful to you. And Satpal, thank you so much for going through the demo.
Thank you.